This is probably a bit more expensive than you're used to paying. I actually think this is really affordable. You couldn't find these at this price in the US. How expensive or affordable are groceries in Japan? Are fruits and vegetables as crazy priced as people say they are? Is rice really cheap because it's Japan? Inflation is in the headlines in Japan, and people are saying that it's really expensive now. Today I'm going to take you to this supermarket so you can see the prices for yourself and compare it to the cost in your country and where you live. As I go along and show you the prices, let me know in the comments as to how it compares to where you're from. Let's go and take a look and see what it's like. Happy travels! This is just an everyday, regular supermarket, and we're going to have a walk around and see what the prices look like. Before we go in, take a look at the recycling out the front of the supermarket. You can bring your things here for recycling. Some places give you a buyback when you put your bottles and paper inside some of these areas. You can grab your themed children's cart here, or the mini carts, and you put your basket inside. This is the standard supermarket that you'd find in Japan, with a bakery, fresh produce, the dairy over the other side. The freezer section is over that side too. Over here is the sitting area, and I'll just make note of a couple of things. One is that it's incredibly clean. It's older, but it's clean. They have a microwave and free water and tea. They also have access to free Wi-Fi here. You also clean up after yourself in Japan. You don't let someone else do that for you. You take responsibility, as you should, and clean your own table. You respectfully leave things how you find them, clean and tidy. It makes sense. Before we get going looking around the Japanese supermarket, let's see what 100 yen is actually currently worth around the world. In the US, it's around 68 cents. In Australia, $1.08, 63 cents in the euro, and 53 pence in the UK. And this is for March 2025. I'll put these currencies on the top right of this video so you can have this as a reference as I go through it. At the end of a section of a supermarket, I'll do a quick wrap up of how much the prices were, and I'll refer to US dollars as most of my audience are in the US. Since we're at the bakery, let's start off here. Some of the things that I would choose would be these mini chocolate croissant, 322 yen for a little bag of mini croissant. You'll find these discounts everywhere, 30 yen off. Have a chicken burger here and a fish burger, 300 yen. Pork sandwich, 430 yen. Have a croissant down here, 173 yen for a croissant. Then there's fresh bread here for 280 yen. Here's something you may not find in your country, which is a red bean and whipped cream bread. It's actually really good. This one is with margarine. Would you give this a try? If you want a simple BLT, you can pick this up for 320 yen. Here's a quick recap of those baked goods that we just saw, and the US dollar over on the right side. Maybe one of the surprises were those burgers for just $2.06. It's a super good snack in Japan. Same with the katsu sando, that pork sandwich, for just $2.93. And the croissant for only $1.18. This isn't just a supermarket, this is a bakery in a supermarket. So it's a pretty sweet price. I remember seeing these in Seattle and Hawaii for over 5, 6, 7 US dollars. Plus tax, plus tip. And who wouldn't try that red bean whipped cream? Or for those on a diet, maybe the margarine version. Both coming in at just $1.33. Let's take a look through the produce section. A large bag of onions will set you back 430 yen. And 5 carrots, they're pretty big, are the same price. And a bag of potatoes, also the same. These are Australian carrots. From Australia, 170 yen, and you got 3 in a bag. How much are carrots in Australia right now? A bag of cucumber, 430 yen, and 5 eggplants are also 430 yen. That seems to be the going price. What do you guys think about all this plastic, by the way? Everything's all bagged up. And then satsumaimo, the sweet potato, is also the same. This is the 430 yen area by the look of it. Sticking to the vegetable theme, celery is 105 yen for a stick of celery. Snap peas, 430 yen. Cabbage is 410 yen. And actually, that's jumped up for Japan. That's something I can tell the price has increased for cabbage. Japan has a variety of mushroom. You'll probably find this one, the shiitake mushroom, to be pretty affordable. For a bag of shiitake, it's just 320 yen. You couldn't find these at this price in the US. There's a bunch of other ones you can choose from here. Bunashimeji, 105 yen for this bag of mushrooms. Enoki, 140 yen. Maitake, 105 yen. Just check out all of these delicious mushrooms. I think I couldn't get mushrooms like this in Western countries at this price. For 3 larger or 4 smaller tomato, that'll set you back 320 yen. For 3 or 4. The mini tomato, for a little packet here, is 140 yen. And check out the packaging here. See how they've all got a tray? This one has a tray as well. So there is trays being used and there's plastic being used here. For a daikon, you'll pick one up for 280 yen. A small broccoli is about 250 yen. Is that expensive? Is that a good price? This is probably a bit more expensive than you're used to paying. Lettuce is 215 yen for one lettuce. In Japan, they call these paprikas. You might call these peppers or capsicum, depending where you're from. And one of these is 280 yen. There's another option here for eggplant, and it's 192 yen for 3 kind of small ones. Next to it is piiman. Have you guys ever tried this before? It's 192 yen for piiman. I'll just point out here that you can also buy these pre-made salads in the supermarkets. And they're pretty decent, like they're reasonable. You get quite a lot of nutrients in that box. For 215 yen, you get a salad. Can you imagine that? I don't see that price for that in some Western countries. And mini sizes here for just 100 yen for a little salad. I actually think this price is super reasonable. I covered quite a lot there, so I'm just going to flash this up here on the screen as a quick reference. I am curious why the Australian carrots are much cheaper than the Japanese carrots, and also I'm going to leave paprika as paprika, because there will be some arguments here in the comments about capsicum, peppers. Paprika is good for me in Japanese. I love how cheap the salad can be here at the supermarket. It can be less than 200 yen. And you can get a little sachet of dressing to go with that for about 40 yen. Also, the sheer amount of mushroom choice is awesome and it's very affordable. An avocado from Mexico is 213 yen. There's quite a variety of oranges that you'll find. I'm just going to show you the prices here for a range of different options. Maybe this is the most common that you'll find. And for a bag of 4, they're 645 yen. These are the mandarins, and for a bag of about 6, you'll get them for 645 yen. A little bit bigger size, about 1,000 yen for a bag. Kiwi fruit are 170 yen each. Grapes can be, I think, sometimes expensive in Japan, and for this small punnet of grapes, or pack as they call it here, 540 yen. And that's about a handful of grapes. A bag of apples is about 1,000 yen, and they can be pretty big. Look at the size of this one, for example. For a punnet or a pack of strawberries, this side here is 645 yen, and these ones are the more bougie. Looks like a sweeter strawberry. They do look good, and they're 861 yen. Bananas from the Philippines, you get 4 of these, 213 yen. These are the fruit that you find for everyday living in the supermarket in Japan. There's definitely a stereotype about crazy Japan and the crazy price of fruit, but that's a special type of fruit and it's usually for gifting or for some special occasion. There's also these unique and interesting farming methods that people have done to make interesting shaped fruit. This is not them, this is everyday life kind of fruit. What do you think about the prices here? Are they expensive? Are they normal? Are they cheap? How do they rate against your country? This one's particularly interesting because it does get a lot of hype internationally. Some fish options we have we have this, looks like a leather jacket, 430 yen. A bit more expensive over the back there, 1,200 yen. Some squid down here for 400 odd yen. We got some crab here. This is 646 yen for a crab. Anything stand out here? Seems pretty reasonable to me. We have some cuts of salmon here for sashimi. 351. Tax. There's a mix here you can pick up. 750 yen for sashimi. And for the larger size with a bit more variety, 1,700 yen. This is the pre-made sushi, and it's pretty reasonable for all of this tray. 1,059 yen for this sushi. This section here, just this section, this is the beef. That's it. And then from here down, this is pork. Pork, 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 all pork. Down to here is pork. Pork is quite popular. For 284 grams of steak, it's 1,098 yen. This is actually a mix. This actually has got some pork in it as well. So it's not all beef here as well. This is gyu karabi. This is also beef here. 203 grams, costs 719 yen. And you would use this for sukiyaki, a hot pot. There's some more beef options here. They really like this fatty style beef in Japan. Then of course we have a few different pork options. Endless pork. For the mince, you can get, of course, pork, or you can get a mixture, beef and pork, but there's no beef here. Chicken breast is usually the cheapest cut of chicken, and this one is for 639 grams, 469 yen. The chicken thighs, the momo, is more expensive. For roughly the same weight, it's 822 yen. 4 wings are 242 yen, 229 grams. There's also a bunch of different tofu that you'll find. You'll find this age tofu, this fried style tofu, and this larger size here. It's a pretty meaty piece of, that's a bit ironic, but it's a huge piece of tofu. 105 yen. And then down here, the untouched fresh one. And you can get it much cheaper. This one here, which is 300 grams of tofu at just 42 yen. Big chunk of tofu. You've got a variety to choose from. This is natto here. Not everyone likes this. I don't actually really know why, because it doesn't smell or taste bad to me. It tastes great. And it smells fine, but it's only 75 yen for a pack of 3, and it's incredibly healthy and full of protein. It's a little bit difficult to cover all the costs of these proteins. So instead, I thought it might be interesting to actually rank them from the cheaper to the more expensive options. The tofu and natto have quite a lot of options, and they are really cheap to get the proteins from. You might have noticed that pork has a few options, and they can be pretty cheap too. Chicken breast is the cheapest for chicken, and it's actually quite affordable. Seafood can be cheap, and beef is the most expensive out of all of them. There is minced beef. It just happened that this supermarket didn't have it today at this time. I think you'll be surprised by the cost of eggs. Have a look at this. The cost of eggs is still pretty low. So for 10 eggs, not 12, 10 eggs, you can buy them for 213 yen. There's a limit of 2 packs per customer. And for the larger size, the L size egg, pack of 10, 267 yen. There's another one down there. From medium to large size, 278 yen. And there's also this type as well for 300 yen, these guys here. I've never seen milk sold in more than a 1 liter carton, and the cheapest you can get at this supermarket is 203 yen. It's from 203, and then it just keeps going up from there. Might be one of the expensive things here. There are also some cheaper and different options for bread if you want something that's not from the bakery. These are these like mini half-size loaf. This is probably the cheapest option for 95 yen. And they come in different slice thickness. So 5 slice, 6, 8, 9 gyoza, 95 yen. You wanted to get just a bento. For lunch, they have the hamburger, 646 yen. Good options to save money for a cheaper lunch. Here we have the prices of rice. 5 kilo bag of rice is roughly 3,600 yen. But if you're in Niigata, you'd want to get this koshihikari rice, a special one from here. For 10 kilos, it's 8,500 yen. There's a range of different fresh noodles you can choose from, and you can get a packet of udon for just 30 yen. There's a bunch of options here. 2 liters for 91 yen. I personally don't drink this, but if you wanted Coca-Cola, the original 700 ml is 127 yen. This one's not so popular, the one that's apparently more healthier, the zero sugar, is 116 yen, 700 ml. For laundry detergent, 850 grams they put it at is 327 yen. 450 grams of shampoo, Tsubaki shampoo or conditioner is 847 yen. There's also quite a large section of adult diapers here. I don't know what to say if they're reasonable or not, but this is the price. 1,850 yen, and you get 18 large size or 22 small size. Eggs will stand out here as being quite cheap. Milk, maybe not so much. Bread is affordable. Gyoza, you overpay for gyoza outside of Japan. It's too expensive. Udon is good. Rice is actually a little bit expensive. I think it's much more than what you'd pay in Western countries, actually. There's a whole history and story behind that. Water is good. Coke is cheaper than Western countries. Detergent, what do you think about that one? Tsubaki shampoo conditioner, you're probably overpaying. And adult diapers, someone's got to help me out with this one. I have no idea. Well, what did you think about these prices? Are they more expensive than where you live? Were they cheaper than where you live? Or were they about the same? And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, follow along for more behind the scenes and insight in Japan. See you on the next video. Happy travels!